Hey guys, we are going to have an AMS session today, and we're going to have a scenario. So say for instance I have a customer that wants to use mobile RTK to go ahead and outline all of his boundaries, and then when he's done with outlining his boundaries, he's going to upload them to the My John Deere Operations Center so that he can have them saved there for future use to be able to download back to all of his equipment. So here's the scenario we're going to go through. Okay, now that we got the scenario laid out for you, we're going to start with our main components. Okay, right here today we got a 4640 Gen 4 touchscreen. Okay, then we're also going to use the Starfire 6000 receiver, and then our cell phone in the cab, the MTG 4G MTG that we use, and we'll go with this. Now I'm going to lay things out, hook things up for you, and explain as I'm hooking them up what each one does. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go over the harnesses. I'm going to tell you what the harnesses are, and then we'll come back and actually plug each plug in and tell you about the plug-ins. Okay, so right here, this is the main harness that's going to provide power. It's going to hook the 4640 up, and it's going to hook the Starfire 6000 up together. So the BPF 11850. There's multiple harnesses that do this task. This is just one that we picked for this scenario. Okay, so the next one right here is a BPF 11505. Now what that harness does is it allows us to connect these two together to allow the MTG onto the network. Okay, so then this is like hooking these together. All right, we will also use this harness, which hooks from the MTG to the display, AL225501, and then we need an additional power harness here that I'm going to use for this BPF in order to get power to the MTG. Then the last little piece here is the antenna for the MTG, and that antenna actually comes with the MTG kit, so it's not a specialized part, although you could get it if you needed it and something were to happen to it. Additionally, we'll need this harness, PF90687, and it hooks the main harness up to the display. Okay, let's go over this main harness once and explain what the main pieces of this harness are. Okay, so right here on this side, we've got our ground, our constant power, and then our switched power. And we really need that to be that way, and that way it'll allow the customer to be able to shut the display off and have everything saved. So you definitely need switched power here. Right up the harness here, there is fuses. It's sealed meant to be outside. There's a little diode to keep stuff from backfeeding. Here's a CAN terminator and power. There is implement switch, and then also a radar plug. This here is a constant power if you would ever need to need that. Then we're going to come over here. This here, most of you should know what that looks like. That is the main plug to go to the display. This here is a service advisor port if we ever need to hook in for anything or any reason. Then you naturally have your receiver hookup, and then another terminator on the receiver side. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and grab the receiver. We're going to plug that in. Okay, so we got the nice Starfire 6000 right here. We're going to plug that in naturally right into the system. So boom, now I have the receiver. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the 4640, the main display here, and we're going to hook that into the system. All right, so here there are a few ports on the back of this, and this is the main plug. So then I'm grabbing that harness that I just told you, the PF90687. We're going to rotate that, put that in, and then we're going to grab this harness here, go into the machine plug on the back of the 4640, plug that in right there. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to incorporate the MTG into all of this. Okay, so now I've got the display, I've got the receiver, but I don't have a cell phone into the system. So a few little prep things here. We're going to take the MTG right here, and then we're going to naturally plug in our antenna. Now, the antenna has 3 plug-ins plus a Wi-Fi port on it. Okay, so they'll only go into one spot. So you just grab each one and make it go in. Spin it right on there. Okay, along with this one. Okay, so now we got our antennas hooked up, and you do have this little Wi-Fi one. So you take this Wi-Fi one right on the top side, and we'll plug that in. So that enables the Wi-Fi signal. Okay, so now the antenna is on the MTG, but we have to get the MTG on the network, which is what this cable will do. So easy enough to plug in. We've got an over center plug. We're just going to put it right in, click that over, boom, that is hooked up. Now what you'll see, there's really 2 main pieces of this left. Okay, you've got a CAN terminator Y right here, and then you got power. Okay, so naturally I'm going to take the power cord that I had, I'm going to put that in, push that on. Okay, so now this power I'm going to hook to the exact same spot that I'm using this connector for. Okay, so this one is switched, this one is constant, and this one is ground. All right, so now I've got power into the MTG. The other 2 little things on the MTG harness here are fuses. So it's already pre-fused. You don't have to worry about that. All right, so now we've got this all hooked together except for one last piece. Okay, this last piece here is what's going to hook the display up to the MTG. Now, the way this sits up, you could actually go and do boundaries and everything currently today. You just would not be able to upload the boundaries to My John Deere until you have this cable hooked up. All right, so on the back of the 4640 it says Ethernet right there. I'm going to grab that Ethernet and I'm going to go ahead and pop that in there. You can hear a nice little click there. Okay, then I'm going to take the cord over to the MTG, and it says Ethernet right here, and I'm just going to pop that in. Boom, now those 2 are talking back and forth. All right, so then we have the Y terminator. Okay, so all we have to do here is get the MTG on the network and hook this together. So simply enough, I'm going to remove the actual terminator from the harness, and I'm going to put it on this harness. Okay? Then I'm going to connect the 2 harnesses. So boom. Now, if I had this powered up along with this, the whole system would come live and start working. Okay? So the display is going to be where we're actually going to update and use all the functions for hooking up and putting in our client farm field, and then putting our boundaries in and recording those boundaries. The GPS is actually tells us where we are on the globe, and the MTG is the 2 communication points. Essentially, this is the cell phone in the cab. That enables 2 things. Number 1, this is talking to the mobile RTK base station that is on each one of our dealerships, and it enables that connection. And then also it talks to the John Deere server with Operations Center, and allowing that communication for the Operations Center to be able to talk to the display. Okay, so we were actually hoping that you would use your imagination and assume that we were putting all this stuff into a gator and making a gator work, and so that leads another sales opportunity up. You can just sell them a gator. Okay. Hey, thanks guys for watching. I hope it was informative enough for you, and look for more.